Welcome back, guys. We are going to continue on with these 1v1 replays. And I've had a short breakaway, been on holiday. So here we are, back at it. So I did some playing while I was away, but I didn't have any of my microphones with me, which is why I didn't upload any videos. So I've got quite a lot of replays to get through. And up first is a bit of an interesting one. It was a trial. I wanted to see if I could get crawlers to work as an actual unit rather than just as a decoy. Usually crawlers are just cannon fodder. I wanted to see if I could actually get them to survive long enough to actually contribute to the fight. So this was the first time I'd actually tried using crawlers offensively. There's a few things I would have done different, but we shall see how it goes. So I start off with Crawler, Mustang, and I've got Supply Specialist, which gives you an extra 50 supply, so I'm able to unlock the Rhino and actually purchase one on the first turn. I thought if I'm using Crawlers offensively, I may as well bring in an offensive fast unit as well. And Mustangs are obviously fast, so the idea is put pressure on the towers as fast as possible. I'm hoping that they won't pay too much attention to the crawlers themselves, and because most people wouldn't use them offensively, so they kind of get ignored most of the time. That's what I'm hoping. So he started off with 2 rockets, so he spent 100 cash that he's not contributed to his actual army. And it looks like we still win the first round, even though he spent 100 cash on rockets. So the crawlers did okay. They were more of a decoy rather than a damage dealer, I think. But I'm going to be upgrading them, see if we can actually get them into the fight. Unfortunately, mass-produced sledgehammer has shown its face, which is the crawler's nemesis, and that is what the opponent has chosen. So this first attempt at getting crawlers to actually work offensively has been scuppered by RNG, getting mass-produced sledgehammers. But I'm still going to try and make it happen, even though it's probably not wise to continue on with a crawler strategy when up against mass-produced sledgehammers. So I went for replicate first, because obviously I didn't know if the opponent chose mass-produced sledgehammer. But I'll soon find out that they did, and so this replicate is going to be absolutely pointless, basically, because they're going to die before they actually get a chance to replicate. The power of the sledge. So things are going to be pretty rough until I start getting some upgrades, and I can't say for certain whether it's actually going to work out in the long run either, or at least I don't want to spoil whether it's going to work out in the long run. I'll try to add in some losses into these replays, so you don't know for certain if the strategy I'm using is actually going to be a successful one. If all I did was upload wins, then it would kind of ruin the surprise. So the opponent's gone for Stormcaller's upgraded range. Now the upgraded range isn't going to make any difference, but the Stormcallers themselves are going to prove to be a problem, because the distance that I've put the Mustangs away from the crawlers and putting them in line means that when they shoot at the crawlers, they're going to hit the Mustangs. So if I was going to retry this strategy, I wouldn't put the Mustangs directly behind the crawlers. I'd stage them in a zigzag formation. But this was my first attempt at this strategy, so mistakes were made. I shouldn't have gone for a replicate first, and I shouldn't have put the Mustangs directly behind. So there's two things that I learned. But I've brought in an Overlord to try and deal with the sledges and to support the Rhino push. So unfortunately, I planned on a crawler offensive, and they're doing okay over here. They're getting some replicates off. So it is working in the areas where they haven't got sledgehammers. So I think the strategy is a sound one. It's just unfortunate with the RNG, with the mass-produced sledgehammers. So as you can see, we've got loads of crawlers still left alive over here. So I think I am going to try and refine this strategy. I think it could be successful. I think it could catch people off guard as well, using crawlers offensively rather than as cannon fodder. But at the moment, obviously, things are not going too great for us. They've still got both of their shields up. This one survived on a sliver of health, which is rather annoying. Okay, so we've got intensive training up now. And what I'm going to try and do is soup up the Overlords. Or at least I think I am. Let's have a look, see what I use this intensive training on. I might potentially put it on the Rhino. That wouldn't make sense actually, because the Rhino's almost leveled up. Looks like I didn't actually use it. It probably ran out of cash. I should have still used it to reset the cooldown. So that's a mistake on my part. So, looks like all I've really done in this turn is go for Overlord artillery, sorry. I must have more cash. Evidently not. So, once again, things not working out very well for us. I think going for the Overlord this early was probably a mistake. It hasn't really had any form of impact. So, if I was going to do this again, I don't think I would go for the Overlord quite so quickly. They've gone for increased attack damage. I'm not sure what they're going to put that on. But I've gone for the shield airdrop. I do like this ability because you can put it behind the enemy lines, which obviously you can't normally do with shields. So it just helps the Rhino get in and helps the crawlers absorb the first shot from these sledgehammers. Now, at some point, I am going to start trying to level up these crawlers again, because I'm still trying to make this strategy work, even though it hasn't quite gone according to plan so far. So I go for this subterranean blitz, which gives a 70% damage reduction while travelling to the target. Now this is a really good ability, and I should have gone for this first. So if I was going to retry this strategy, I'd go for Subterranean Blitz first. It's, as you'll see in a second, it really does help them to absorb the first shot. But as you can see, one shot from the sledges didn't even kill the level 1 crawler there. So we're actually getting in, and Replicate is actually having some form of effect now. But still, things are not going too great. And we are losing HP very quickly. We're down to 352, so last ditch effort now. We're basically on our last legs. We can't lose a single round at this point. And obviously lots of mistakes have been made here. This is not a strategy that I would replicate in this fashion. But we're going to do our best to try and rescue it. They've got melting point to deal with the Rhino and the Overlord. So we're doubling down on the Overlords. We're going to see if we can take down this tower. If I can take down a tower, there's a chance. There is a chance. So I've put an item, increased HP on this Overlord and leveled him up. And we're going for Mechanical Rage. So we're carrying on with the Crawler strategy, trying to force it to work. At the moment, these Mustangs, they're just... yeah, this one's done alright, I suppose. This one's done terribly. So yeah, the Mustangs probably aren't necessary for this particular strategy. So I'm not really sure what I would take instead. But I've brought in a flank over here to try and distract some of their units away, give the crawlers a bit more chance to get in, which has let the Rhino get in, which has let the Overlords get in, which has killed the melting point. So putting this little decoy over here had a snowball effect, letting everything get in. So although it's a 100 cost unit, which it has no intention of actually fighting, it pulled some key units out of position and let us snowball onto the tower. Obviously taking the tower is one of the most important things, really. You nearly find, especially late on in the game, whoever takes the tower down first is going to be the winner. At the beginning of the game, when there's not many units on the field, that's not necessarily the case. But unfortunately, we are facing Orbital Javelin, and so now having these units so close to each other is really, well, it's bad. Let's just say it's bad. So I was pretty sure that they were going to put the Orbital Javelin here, knock out these two Overlords. So as you can see, he's actually targeting the Rhino and this Overlord. But obviously I don't know that at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell, get field recovery and sell this Overlord, because I'm also pretty sure that a nuke is going to be coming in, because I've only got 352 health. He's obviously one turn away from winning. He's got the Orbital Javelin, he's going to go for a nuke, wipe out this front, and then it's game over. So I'm selling this unit here and spreading out the Overlords, just so a nuke can't hit everybody. And I've gone for the mothership upgrade to try and protect from the melting point. So obviously if the melting point locks onto these Overlords, they are dead. So mothership is really good in that fashion. And here was the nuke that I was expecting. So you'll see here with this Orbital Javelin, he actually misses the Rhino. So he took out the Overlord, but he missed the Rhino entirely. Now I have got speed specialist, so he might not have accounted for that. But we managed to take out this tower, which he would have been completely unexpecting, because he probably would have expected me to go full on this tower, which is why I dropped the nuke over here. And things worked out fantastically for us that round. He spent 500 supply on a nuke. He spent 200 or 300, I can't remember how much it is on an Orbital Javelin. So he's about 700 or 800 supply in the bin just from that one round. And so now we have a chance to turn the tide, get back into the battle. So it was a rough start, but we are picking up steam now. So I've gone for Wasp Swarm because I want to try and distract at the back. We've still got this unit here distracting. We've got our army nicely spread out, putting pressure all across the front line. Now I haven't got anything protecting the back. He really should have threatened my towers at the back, because this could quite easily fall apart if he just tried to attack these towers. Just a single crawler like I've done down at the back on either side would really threaten my offensive. But we've gone for another Overlord, and we've gone for photon emission. That will help the crawlers survive even longer. So at the moment we're just delaying everybody's attacks with the crawlers so the overlords can actually do the damage. And obviously we've got this super rhino over here with no upgrades whatsoever, and he is doing a marvellous job. He's leveled up to level 3. So he's put melting points over here, and he's put rockets pretty much all across to try and deal with crawlers. Now, it seemed to me that the photon emission did not take effect immediately, and I think that the rockets hit the target before the photon emission took effect. But because of all the wasted supply from that nuke turn, we turned the tide and we had much more units on the field than they did. And there you go. What looked like an absolute disaster was turned around and turned into a victory. So, is this a good strategy? I don't know, because obviously I made a few mistakes at the beginning. I shouldn't have gone for a replicate first, and I shouldn't have put Mustangs directly behind the crawlers. But there is a chance that this is a winning strategy. So I'll have to play it a few more times, try and refine it a bit, but it worked out really well. Overlords are really good if the enemies stood still. And crawlers are really good at making the enemy stand still. So even if you weren't going to take the mechanical rage and the replicate, and you just went for subterranean blitz, this is a really good way to get the enemy standing still, so your other units can actually get in and deal the damage. It would be good to have Stormcallers actually instead of these Mustangs. So if I had Stormcallers instead of the Mustangs, pin them down with the crawlers and then mop up with the overlords, I think that would be a very good strategy. But that is this replay, so join me in the next one. We will see if I get a victory. So cheers for watching, take care, and I shall see you soon.